What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie F1. Here's a quick synopsis. Ruben Cervantes, owner of the Formula One racing team, the APX GP, recruits his old friend Sonny Hayes, a past-failed driver, to mentor and pair with Joshua Pierce, a promising up-and-comer. The film stars Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Kerry Condon, Javier Bardem, Tobias Menzies, and Kim Bodnia. Standout performances. Brad Pitt is one of my all-time favorite actors. I've said almost everything I've ever wanted to say about his career on this podcast. What I thought after watching F1 is, this is an example of a guy who still wants to remain a major movie star leading man. To put it this way, he right now has more in common with his Interview with the Vampire co-star Tom Cruise than he does his Ocean's 11 co-star George Clooney, who has taken a step back from stardom. And like what Tom Cruise did in Top Gun Maverick, Pitt proves he's still got it. He's still the ideal fit to lead a movie like F1. For F1, Pitt plays Sonny, this loner who drives for the love of it and has in a way lost his ambition until he's invited back into F1. I don't view the performance as one of Pitt's overall best, but it's a reminder that he's still one of our great movie stars. Upcoming Brad Pitt movies include Heart of the Beast with J.K. Simmons and The Adventures of Cliff Booth, a semi-sequel to Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The interesting thing about it is David Fincher will be directing the screenplay written by Quentin Tarantino. Now, I do like the movies written by Tarantino and directed by other filmmakers. You have True Romance from the late great Tony Scott, Natural Born Killers from Oliver Stone. It's worth noting for this, Tarantino got a story by credit as Stone had done a rewrite of the original script, and From Dusk Till Dawn from Robert Rodriguez. Brad Pitt returning to the role that won him his coveted Oscar with the guy he made Seven, Fight Club, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button with is beyond fascinating. The film cast alongside Pitt includes Elizabeth Debicki, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Carla Gugino, and Scott Caan. And yes, I really hope Leonardo DiCaprio makes an appearance as Rick Dalton. The choices that Brad Pitt is making lately shows to me that he wants to end his career with a real bang. Like, I do not believe he wants to end his career with a dud. I think he's still going for it. He wants to work with really good filmmakers. I mean, you had Damien Chazelle's Babylon, which is a misunderstood great film in my opinion. Yes, I believe we're talking about a guy who wants to remain a movie star and he's obsessed with that, but I also feel like he's obsessed with making high quality movies, which I really respect about him. F1 is the first time I had seen Damson Idris in anything. I did not watch the long-running FX series Snowfall, and after watching F1, I was left impressed. He definitely has the qualities of a potential star himself, playing Joshua, this hotshot driver who has talent but has not yet led to success. I liked how this movie goes into how the character is dealing with early fame, though it's a bit cliche for the older character to be hardworking and the younger one to be arrogant, but Idris is still able to play that all effectively. I have recently really enjoyed seeing Brad Pitt being paired with an up-and-coming actor. You had Margaret Qualley in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Austin Abrams in Wolves, and now Damson Idris in F1. In all three of these movies, I think Brad Pitt had really good chemistry with his younger co-star. Javier Bardem, in my opinion, has given three of the best modern supporting performances in Michael Mann's Collateral, No Country for Old Men from the Coen brothers, for which he won an Oscar, and Skyfall from Sam Mendes. In those movies, he plays villains, which which he doesn't in F1, but like those movies, he gives a movie star performance without playing the lead character, which is a very hard thing to do. In the movie, Bardem plays Ruben, who is attempting to recruit his longtime friend Sonny to join his F1 team. Bardem in the beginning of the movie brings real joy, and later in the movie shows real concern for his friend. It's one of the best uses of the actor. It's a showcase of all of his abilities. And finally, Kerry Condon was the breakout performer of Martin McDonagh's The Banshees of Inisherin, getting an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. In F1, she plays Kate, who's the technical director for APXGP and Sonny's love interest. Yes, the romance between her and Pitt in this movie is a bit of a cliche, but I did find they have really good chemistry. There's one scene in particular that I loved where she meets with Sonny, who wants her to fix the car, and she says, "Finish a race and then we'll talk." Performance-wise, Brad Pitt is given the movie. He's playing the character who is leading everything. I just feel like Javier Bardem and Kerry Condon make a lot out of nothing with their supporting turns in the movie F1. The movie Top Gun Maverick changed everything for director Joseph Kosinski. He's now viewed as one of the best directors of blockbuster movies. Before that, he was making big movies that didn't land with everyone. Tron Legacy and Oblivion, the movie where he figured it out, was weirdly a smaller movie, Only the Brave, with Miles Teller, Josh Brolin, Jennifer Connelly, and Jeff Bridges. And there's a number of reasons why he has become one of my favorite directors. The top of that list is the fact that he knows what to do with giant movie stars. He got the absolute best out of Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick, and with Brad Pitt in F1, you just feel like he knows what makes Brad Pitt Brad Pitt. This is what I'm getting at. It almost feels like he is touching on the overall legacies of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt as movie stars. Like he is interested in them as the two biggest stars of our lifetime. That might sound like overpraise, but watch those two movies, Top Gun Maverick and F1, and tell me I'm wrong. I find one of the biggest problems with modern blockbusters being the fact that they are not being made by the right kind of filmmaker. There are endless examples of directors who make an indie and then make the jump to big blockbuster films. Kosinski, on the other hand, has basically only made these kinds of movies, and he's developed to the point where he knows what works and what doesn't. It's been talked about a lot about how Kosinski was originally going to make a version of the movie that became Ford v Ferrari that was going to star both Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, so a racing movie was always in the cards for Kosinski, and one might also call him the modern day Tony Scott. He made the sequel to Top Gun and then immediately followed it with F1. The late great Tony Scott made Top Gun and Days of Thunder, both starring Tom Cruise. I'll take this minute to talk about the movie Days of Thunder. I think it really has become an underrated Tom Cruise movie. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. No, it's not on the pantheon of the all-time great Tom Cruise movies, but it's entertaining, and it's Tom Cruise sharing the screen with the great Robert Duvall. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it highly. It was recently announced that Joseph Kosinski is going to work on the next film adaptation of Miami Vice. I liked Michael Mann's movie. I thought it was flawed and interesting. I find this intriguing. I have all the faith in the world in Kosinski to make a good movie. All I ask for is for him to cast frequent collaborator Miles Teller as Sonny Crockett. The world needs this. Miles Teller needs this. Famed movie producer Jerry Bruckheimer, as a producer, has a history of working with the same director over and over again. He's produced 1986's Top Gun, 1987's Beverly Hills Cop 2, 1990's Days of Thunder, and 1995's Crimson Tide from the aforementioned Tony Scott, 1995's Bad Boys, 1996's The Rock, 1998's Armageddon, 2001's Pearl Harbor, and 2003's Bad Boys 2 from Michael Bay. And I mention those collaborations because it does does feel like he's forging a similar relationship with Joseph Kosinski. All three directors are similar in that they are a bit underrated. They don't make movies in order to win Oscars. They make crowd-pleasing films starring major stars: Will Smith, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Nicolas Cage, Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, Denzel Washington, Eddie Murphy. The list goes on and on. I truly believe there are more filmmakers that are capable of making a prestige movie than are capable of making movies the way that these three do. Tony Scott made event movies. Michael Bay and Joseph Kosinski make event movies. Bruckheimer and Kosinski are set to work together for a third time after Top Gun Maverick and F1 on a UFO thriller, again working with Apple Original Films. It's nearly impossible to talk about the movie F1 and not discuss its relationship to Top Gun Maverick. There are more similarities other than the fact that they were both made by the same director. The structure of the movies are also the same. They are built on an all-time movie star, Cruise in Maverick and Pitt in F1, who are paired with a younger star. And even though they share moments with these stars, Idris and Teller, and in a way let them shine, they ultimately become the movie. I even fooled myself with F1 for a minute, thinking that Idris would get the grand finale, but then it goes to Pitt. The same with Top Gun Maverick. Miles Teller is really good in it, but it will go down as Tom Cruise's movie. The same way F1 is really a Brad Pitt showcase. That's one of the things I think is really hard about pairing a younger star with a mega movie star, is the movie will always be remembered by the mega movie star. I mean, when we talk about movies like A Few Good Men, we still talk about Jack Nicholson, and a lot of people don't even care about Tom Cruise's performance in that movie, even though I think it's one of the best of his career. Then you have Kevin Costner in The Untouchables. I think it's Kevin Costner's best movie, but when we talk about that movie, it's all about Sean Connery. Teller in Top Gun Maverick and Idris in F1 were never going to walk away as the victors of those respective movies. It was always going to be Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. I mentioned the fact that Tom Cruise in the past has been overshadowed by older actors, not even just Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You also had Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man and Paul Newman in The Color of Money. The same has happened for Brad Pitt. I mean, he was in two early movies with Anthony Hopkins, Legends of the Fall and Meet Joe Black. And even though Brad Pitt is the lead of those movies and the star of those movies, he is overshadowed by Anthony Hopkins. When people talk about those movies, they praise the performances given by Hopkins. And Pitt is a little bit of an afterthought, even though I think he's pretty good in both movies. That's what happens when a youngster is paired with an acting legend. So let's get into the obvious. The racing scenes in F1 are thrilling and realistic, but what interested me most about the movie was how it was about a rivalry between teammates. And I've come to understand that's common in F1. I think it's the thing that separates F1 from other sports movies. It's something we haven't seen. We've seen movies about athletes getting a second chance, The Natural. We've seen underdog stories, Hoosiers. I've never seen the dynamic between Sonny and Joshua in a movie depiction before. Where does this movie F1 rank against recent car racing films? Well, what is it up against? You have Rush, starring Chris Hemsworth, a really good underrated film from Ron Howard, James Mangold's Ford v Ferrari, starring Christian Bale and Matt Damon, Michael Mann's Ferrari, starring Adam Driver, and Gran Turismo, starring Archie Madekaway, Orlando Bloom, and David Harbour. I like all four of those movies. I think they're really exciting, but there's two in particular I do believe are better than F1, and they are Ford v Ferrari and Ferrari, because in part, those movies go a bit deeper than who won and lost a race, especially in the case of Michael Mann's Ferrari. I also don't understand the people who don't like the racing scenes in that movie. When it comes comes to James Mangold's Ford v Ferrari, my love of it all comes down to Christian Bale. I mean, that is a top 5 Christian Bale performance in that movie. He should have been nominated for an Oscar. I also think Adam Driver should have been nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Michael Mann's Ferrari. Box office. As of this recording, F1 has made over $305 million at the worldwide box office. My wish for this movie is for it to become the highest grossing film of Brad Pitt's career, because I think it is sad that the movie that is currently the number 1 highest grossing Brad Pitt film is World War Z. I watched World War Z. It's not a bad movie. I just found it to be a bit dull, and I want something better at the top of the list, and I would happily have that title be F1. Let's make this the highest film of Brad Pitt's career, please and thank you. Oscar chances. I don't see this as a major contender at the Oscars. However, there are 2 nominations I want to see happen. Javier Bardem for Best Supporting Actor and Joseph Kosinski for Best Director. It should have happened for him on Top Gun Maverick, and it should definitely happen with F1. He is doing stuff that other directors are not capable of doing. I mean, yeah, do I want to see this movie get a Best Picture nomination? Absolutely. I just don't see that in the cards. I don't see Brad Pitt getting an Oscar nomination. I would love to see that happen. These kinds of movies just don't get a lot of awards recognition, although I do believe Javier Bardem deserves it for this movie, and so does Joseph Kosinski. Listen, Top Gun Maverick did find success at the Oscars. It was nominated for Best Picture. I just don't feel like F1 has had that type of momentum so far. It's getting a lot of praise. It's being called an entertaining movie, but I don't think people are appreciating it on that same level, and I don't necessarily think that's right. I do think this is a movie that deserves praise for how it was made, and I think that should all go back to Kosinski. Now, I understand if you watch this movie and go, I don't want to nominate Brad Pitt for an Oscar, but Javier Bardem gives the best supporting performance I have seen so far this year. Overall, F1 is as entertaining as I wanted it to be and was well worth the wait and anticipation. That's one of the worries of movies. You wonder how good they are going to be. They all sound good on paper. Brad Pitt in a movie about Formula One, what could go wrong? But we've seen many examples of movies like this going wrong. A director like Joseph Kosinski coming off of Top Gun Maverick and then making a dud. We've seen it happen over and over again, and thankfully that didn't happen with F1. F1 is being celebrated as the biggest victory for a theatrical Apple movie in its existence. I mean, Ridley Scott's Napoleon was thought to be an epic. That did well at the box office, but not well enough. And then here comes F1. And I don't know if you can call this movie a surprise at the box office. Some people are surprised. I'm not. It's a movie that stars Brad Pitt, and I do think people walked into this movie knowing it was made by the guy who made Top Gun Maverick. I think that's one of the big selling points, and that's why I think Joseph Kosinski deserves all the praise in the world, because he is becoming one of those directors people know about because of the movies he's making and the choices of films he's making. You know a director is becoming one of your favorite directors when all you want for him is to make the kinds of movies he wants to make, and that's where I'm at with Joseph Kosinski. I don't care whatever kind of movie this guy is going to make next after the UFO movie and after Miami Vice. I'm all in. Just let Joseph Kosinski make any kind of movie he wants, and I'm sure a movie star is going to get involved in it. I guess before I go, I should talk about the fact that there's probably going to be a sequel to this movie. It is viewed as a success story. I know that Joseph Kosinski is teasing the fact that he wants to make a crossover movie of Tom Cruise's Days of Thunder and F1. I don't see that happening. I do believe that before their careers end, we are going to see Tom Cruise in another another film with Brad Pitt, and it will most likely be directed by Joseph Kosinski, and I'm all here for it whenever it happens. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast each and every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out the movie F1. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about the film Jurassic World Reboot, starring Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Jonathan Bailey from director Gareth Edwards. So tune into that and please rate, review, and subscribe.